Welcome to the Midnight Street.
The Last Melody, Part 1, Twilight Waltz. The invitation had no sender, no stamp, no explanation for how it had appeared inside his apartment. One moment, Vincent Arden's piano had been empty. The next morning, the black card rested silently atop the ivory keys. Its surface felt strangely cold to the touch. At the center, embossed in silver lettering, were two words: The Last Melody. Beneath it, Midnight Street. And below that, written in smaller, elegant script: Find your shadow beneath a midnight moon. Stand upon it, then walk forward. That was all. No phone number. No address beyond the impossible one. Vincent had almost thrown it away. Almost, but that had been 3 weeks ago. And in those 3 weeks, he had failed to compose a single piece of music. Again, the silence inside his apartment had become unbearable. Once, orchestras had performed his compositions before crowds numbering in the thousands. Once, critics called him the man who could make grief sound beautiful. Now he could barely touch a piano without hearing echoes of failure. Or worse, echoes of Lily. Her death had hollowed something inside him. Not merely because he loved her, but because he had begun forgetting the sound of her voice. That terrified him more than loneliness ever could. Which was why, despite every rational instinct warning him otherwise, Vincent found himself standing alone beneath the full moon at exactly midnight. The city behind him remained alive. Distant traffic, apartment lights, the occasional bark of a dog somewhere far away. Yet ahead, the alleyway drowned in pale silver fog. Vincent looked down slowly and froze. The alley cast no shadows. Not from the overflowing trash bins. Not from the fire escapes. Not even from him. Above, the moon loomed impossibly large. Its edges stained faint crimson. Watching. Then, his shadow appeared. Not naturally. It slowly formed beneath his feet, as though spilled across the pavement by invisible hands. The invitation card in Vincent's pocket suddenly grew warm. Somewhere beyond the fog, music began playing. Soft jazz, old gramophone static, faint laughter. Vincent swallowed nervously, then stepped onto the shadow. The world shifted. The city vanished behind him. Midnight Street unfolded ahead like a hidden world waiting patiently beneath reality itself. Lanterns and neon signs illuminated the long avenue stretching endlessly beneath the crimson moon. Buildings lined both sides of the street, their architecture shifting strangely between centuries and styles. Old jazz lounges beside glowing noodle shops. Antique bookstores beside underground bars. Tailors, pawn shops, fortune tellers. A butcher shop whose hanging meat moved slightly when no one looked directly at it. The air smelled faintly of tobacco, perfume, old paper. And music. People wandered calmly through the street, as though none of this were unusual. A woman wearing a fox mask smoked quietly beneath a street lamp. Two men argued over chess outside a cafe older than the surrounding buildings. A child with silver eyes dragged a black balloon through the fog while humming softly to himself. Some people looked human. Some did not. Yet nobody seemed alarmed by either possibility. Vincent felt his chest tighten. Not from fear. From the impossible realization that Midnight Street felt alive, like a city hidden inside a dream. And somehow, he felt expected here. He walked carefully deeper into the street. The farther he went, the stranger everything became. Music drifted from buildings with no visible windows. Certain stores possessed signs written in languages Vincent could not recognize. Others had no signs at all. Then he reached the intersection. At the center stood a massive black fountain where dark water flowed upward instead of downward. Moonlight reflected across its surface, while people gathered nearby speaking quietly beneath the crimson sky. And there, standing beyond the fountain, beneath a glowing navy sign, was the store. The last melody. Warm amber light spilled through enormous glass windows onto the street outside. Inside, Vincent could already see towering shelves of records stretching impossibly deep into the building. Soft jazz drifted faintly from within. He hesitated, then entered. A small silver bell rang overhead. The smell hit him immediately. Dust, vinyl, coffee, old wood, and something faintly floral hidden beneath everything else. The interior resembled less a store and more a cathedral dedicated to sound itself. Towering shelves stretched toward the ceiling, packed tightly with records from every era imaginable. Some looked ancient enough to belong in museums. Others appeared newer than anything Vincent had ever seen. Dozens of customers wandered silently through the aisles. Some listened through antique headphones. Others stood motionless, holding vinyl sleeves against their chests with distant expression. At the far end of the store, a man stood arranging records behind the counter. Tall, lean, silver-haired. He wore a dark navy shirt with rolled sleeves held neatly by suspenders alongside elegant black trousers and polished shoes. His pale skin almost seemed luminous beneath the amber light. And despite the relaxed posture, there was something deeply unnatural about him. Blue eyes stared unfocused toward the shelves. Blind, at least supposedly, because the moment Vincent stepped inside, the man smiled directly at him. "Ah," he said warmly, "a grieving musician." Vincent stopped walking immediately. The man's smile widened slightly. "Those are always my favorite customers." Before Vincent could answer, the man extended a gloved hand casually across the counter. "Elias Morn," he said pleasantly. "Owner, curator, occasional therapist." Vincent shook his hand cautiously. "You can tell all that just by looking at me." Elias tilted his head faintly. "My dear sir," he replied, "I'm blind." Then, after a brief pause, "Mostly." Vincent wasn't entirely sure whether the man was joking. Elias seemed amused by the uncertainty. "Now then," Elias continued casually, while moving through the shelves with impossible precision, "you didn't come here for ordinary music." He stopped before a distant shelf, ran slender fingers gently across several records, then pulled one free. Black vinyl, dark crimson sleeve, silver lettering, Twilight Waltz. The moment Vincent saw it, something inside him tightened painfully. Elias carefully turned the sleeve toward him. "An exceptionally rare piece," Elias said softly, "quite difficult to listen to without crying." Vincent slowly reached for it. The second his fingers touched the vinyl, a soft voice whispered beside his ear. "Vincent." He froze completely. That voice. "No. Impossible." "Lily," he whispered. Then, the front door burst open violently. A tired male voice echoed through the store. "You loaned it already." Vincent turned sharply. A young man stood near the entrance carrying several record cases beneath one arm while adjusting his glasses irritably. Elias smiled immediately. "You're late, Oliver." Oliver looked genuinely offended. The host specifically requested Twilight Waltz tonight. Elias shrugged lazily. "And yet here we are."
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more stories.